Hey glam dolls and glam gents, welcome to my channel. Here you'll learn hair, nails, makeup, and you'll receive God's word. Don't let your struggle become your identity. Hello glam dolls and glam gents, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I lay acrylic on this nail training finger that I have placed full cover tips on. If you're interested in finding out how I got these tips to adhere to these nails and to this training hand, then you can definitely watch that video. So I'm going to start off with this nail that I've actually attached to the nail training fingertip using a full cover nail. That was one of the ways that I've demonstrated how to attach those to the finger to do some good practicing. So today I'm going to be using two very beautiful purples. The first one I'm going to be using is Passionate Purple from Nail Nails. They have some really awesome products, and it looks like this. And I'm going to be using Ready to Mingle from Glam and Glitz, and it purple looks like this. Now this purple is a very dark purple, so you'll get to see that in a minute. And this is more on the lighter side, a little darker than what you see here in this powder, but it's more on the lighter side. So whenever you're applying acrylic, and we're going to be doing an ombre nail, so you'll get to see this technique as well in this video, but we're going to go ahead and grab a bead of the Passionate Purple, and we're going to place that on the nail, and I'm going to begin bringing that on down to the free edge. You want to remember you're working with very small beads, because with colored acrylic you don't want to make the nail too thick, because you still have to go in and clear cap that nail. So you want to make sure you are not working too thick. So small beads, a little goes a long way. And we're going to continue to go down the nail. Right where we place that first bead, we're going to move right below that and place that second bead. And we're just going to bring that right on down into that one. And I'm just going to take this down just a little further, because next is where we're going to begin putting that dark purple. Now it does not have to be seamless or perfect or laid very evenly there, because we are getting ready to ombre with the darker color, and everything from this point on down to the middle of that nail is going to be a different color. So I'm going to grab another, dip my brush in my monomer. Now I'm going to grab a same thing, small bead of that next color, and I'm going to place it without touching that cuticle. I'm going to walk out those sides, and we're going to begin bringing that color right into that purple. Now you're not going to be placing the whole brush onto that nail, you're just using the tip. So you're going to place it, you're going to walk that bead out, and then you're going to take the tip of that, your brush, and you're just going to lightly feather it into that color, your other color. So I want to bring my ombre a little higher with the darker color, so I'm just going to place another small bead right where it stops. I'm going to walk it out, and I'm going to just bring that color right on up the nail. Now I'm going to go back and get a very small bead of that Passionate Purple, that very light purple, and we're going to place that bead here, and I'm just going to feather that back into that darker color. So that's going to give us a very seamless ombre nail. And again, if you find any areas that needs a little more acrylic, or you want to make it a little more blended, and you just add a little more of that color. So that's how that purple looks. And I wanted it to be blended just a little more, so I'm going to add another small bead. And I'm just going to blend that out to how I want that nail to look. But that's how you create an ombre. Now I'm going to go in and clear cap it, and I'm going to be using crystal clear from Nails as well. And we're just going to clear cap that nail. I'm going to place a bead here in the center, going to walk that out, and you're just going to bring everything else down. Okay, so just like that. Get another bead right here, walk that side out, and that's how you clear cap that nail. Now at this point, I'm going to show you how to build that apex. So here you see that that nail kind of looks just flat. So here in this middle part is where we'll start building our apex. So right here at this line of my mat for my table, all the way until here, we're going to build that apex. Because this nail is very long, we must have a very strong apex or that nail will break. Now, don't get that twisted for thinking that the nail has to be super thick not to break, because it does not. Your nail can be thick and still break. So we're going to go in with another bead of acrylic, pretty big size bead. I'm going to sit that directly here. And I'm just going to start blending that out. Okay, and as you can see how that apex right there is starting to build. We're going to do that again. Now at this point, you're no longer putting any more acrylic here to that cuticle area, because you want that to stay as flush as possible. But if you can see here, we'll get to that part where we're adding more acrylic, but it's only going to come from here where we place this bead. So we're going to get another bead of acrylic. We're going to place it here again, right below. Walk that side out. And we're going to bring everything else down. Now here is where you can start blending out from that cuticle area on down. It'll just bring everything together without removing the apex of that nail. So again, I want a little more apex, and you're just going to keep building that apex until you get it to where it should be. So here I want some more strength here towards this free edge, so I'm going to bring that down, and then I'm going to just bring everything else together, just lightly using the tip of that brush. We're not using the belly of the brush, we're using the tip of that brush to lightly bring everything else down. You don't want to end up taking your brush and laying it flat with the belly and pressing it, because you're going to end up losing that apex that you're trying to build, and you don't want that. So we're going to take another small bead. This time we're going to take this bead and place it here on that free edge. We're going to bring that down just a little, and then we're going to backstroke the rest into that nail, cleaning up that side, making sure everything is still straight, not out of whack. So we're just going to bring everything else into that nail. And as you can see, that nail has a nice apex that's forming. So here I want to add a little more apex, and you just do this until, like I said, you get your apex as strong as you want it, or as strong as it needs to be, especially for a longer nail. Place that bead, Walk those sides out without touching the middle, because if you touch that middle, you're going to remove that apex that you want. So let that sit for a few seconds before you start walking that out. And then once you do, you can lightly take the tip of that brush and just feather everything on down to that free edge. I want to build this tip of this nail a little more because it's longer. You don't want the tip of that nail thin. We're going to bring another bead here, place it, take the tip of your brush, bring it to the free edge, take that tip of that brush and back stroke just that part lightly. If you apply any pressure, it will remove where you're trying to add that thickness. It will just flatten everything back out, and that's not what you want to do. So now I'm just going to take another small bead of acrylic, and I'm going to begin here at the cuticle area, and I'm just going to bring everything together. Just everything together. Very lightly. Bringing everything together. Okay? So that is how you lay the acrylic, creating an ombre and building the apex of that nail for long nails. Like I said, your nails do not have to be super thick. They just have to have a strong apex. There's nothing wrong with adding more apex if you want. You can definitely go back and add more, which is what I'm doing. I just love to really see that curved shape where the apex starts. I just love to see that. So that nail has a very nice apex. The structure of that nail is going to be very solid. So we're not going to worry about any breaks or anything from this nail. We're making sure that we build it very well. Okay? So there's how we built that. We're going to let that dry. And then I'm going to come back in and show you how to shape. So we're going to move on to the next nail. And with this nail, I'm going to be doing a very nice ombre with a cover powder and a color that resembles milky white. And then those are going to be the colors that I'm using for this part of the nail. So what I'm doing right now, just finding that color I'm going to be using. I'm actually unsure where I put it. But I know I definitely want to demonstrate a nail using that color. And y'all, for video purposes, you know, just so you won't prolong that video any longer than it has to be, go ahead and have whatever you're using out, or you know, kind of in a close location where you don't have to dig around for it like I am, because I do not know why I put the color that I want to use. I got it. It was supposed to be in my nail drawer with my acrylics, but it's not. So I'm going to be using a color that resembles milky white, and this color is called Blank Slate. And I'm going to be using Caramel. So these are the two colors that I'm going to be using to create this nail. And yeah, so this finger has already, this was the one that was done on the training nail on the training hand using a full cover nail, and this is the one that we did actually assembling a tip to it. So of course it's going to be an ombre nail, same process. We're just going to use two different colors. So I'm going to go in first with my lightest color, which is my milky white shade. I'm going to apply that here on the nail, and I'm going to just blend that on out. Have another bead. I'm going to place it here. Walk that out. Place a bead of acrylic here on the free edge. And bring that back into the nail. And I'm going to move on down that nail with another bead. Walk those sides out, not touching that middle, because that's where your apex is going to start being built. And we're going to lightly take the tip and just bring everything down. Not putting or applying any pressure to the middle of that nail, because you want that nail to have a nice apex formed. So we're making sure we're cleaning up the sides of that nail. Just like that. And we're going to go in with this beautiful caramel color. And we're going to ombre that on into the nail. So we're going to grab a small bead. We're going to place it here. Going to walk that side out. And we're going to lightly feather that right on into that color. So like I said, y'all, this is a very, very beautiful color to work with when doing ombres. So we're going to place that bead. We're going to walk out that side. And it's going to bring everything down that nail. Okay, so we're going to do it just like that. Just like that. So we have a very beautiful, beautiful color nail bed. So now we're just going to add another small bead here. I'm going to place it and walk those sides out. And I'm going to bring everything else into the rest of that nail. Just like that. Okay. Now we are going to clear cap this, because when doing ombres, when you go to file that nail, you want to make sure you are not removing any of that color. So we're going to go in with a clear bead of acrylic. We're going to place that on that nail, walk it out, and we're just going to bring everything down. I'm want to make sure that tip is not sliding anywhere. If it is, just press it back onto there just a little. We're making sure we are building a free edge, a apex, so we're placing that bead. We're walking out those sides, and we're just bringing everything else down. Just like this. I got a little bit of something on that nail, so I need to get that off. But just like that. I'm going to add another bead of clear acrylic to that free edge. Very small bead, just to build that tip of that nail so it has some strength and it doesn't break easily. And just we're going to backstroke everything else into that nail. So here you have a perfectly built nail with a nice apex. Here you have the apex, nicely structured. Just like that. So while that's drying, I'm going to go back in here. Make sure you're closing your powders after you finish using, because once you start filing, that dust kind of goes everywhere and you don't want it to get all over the place. So you're going to make sure you're closing that up, as well as your monomer. Want to make sure none of that stuff is in the way. And now I'm going to be going back in with my nail bit. This is not a safety bit. We're going to be using this. To go back in and clean up the shaping of that nail. So that nail is still holding securely on there, and we're going to go in and I'm just follow alongside of that nail and clean up those edges so we have the perfectly shaped stiletto. Now this is a quick method to kind of clean those sides up and bring everything together. And then you also have your hand file, and I'll actually show you how to go in and use that as well. Okay, so now that we've cleaned up that side, and this is just a quick method so you don't have to do a whole lot of filing. You want to make sure you're holding that, even though it's glued on and it's not going anywhere, you want to make sure you're holding that directly in the center so it doesn't move while you're filing. And you're going to come down that nail. And you're just going to make it as straight as you can so you'll have a nice point on that nail. Okay, so you want to make sure you're turning that hand to the side, you're going underneath that nail, and you're cleaning it up. Just like that. Now to get that very straight point, you want to make sure you're taking your file, holding it vertically, and you want to go up and down the side of that nail so you can give it a nice straight line. A nice straight line. So you can see the difference between the sides. Bring it in so you can see. You can see the difference in the size. That's how it should look. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the file. We're going to lay it underneath. We're going to clean that line up. And whenever you have tips, you're not bringing that file past where you place that tip on. So just say this is where the tip started. We're not going to file past this, because here is where you'll start lifting if you remove any of that acrylic there or you dig too deep. So right here, when that file stops there under that client nails, it shouldn't go past that. So you shouldn't be filing into anything here once you lay that nail. So now I'm going vertically up and down. And we're cleaning up the side of that nail. So I want my stilettos to have a very nice crisp point. So I'm just going to do that until it is very nice and pointy. Now if you don't want your nails as pointy, then you can opt to round them a little more. But I want them very pointy, because you know once you wear stilettos pointy, it does your shape does change during the course of your wear, so it won't stay that sharp the whole time you have those nails. So I'm just going to run that file up and down that nail. And if you see any areas that you need to go back in and adjust, then you can just take your file and go back in. Just like that. And next you want to make sure you're taking the buffer and buffing that nail smooth. So when you're buffing, you want to make sure you have a buffer. You're going to be buffing that nail in this direction. So still holding that nail, you're going to be buffing back and forth. And then you're going to come down the nail. So back and forth. Back and forth, buffing that nail out, making sure it's as smooth as it can be. And then we're going to come up and down that nail. Okay. So as you can see, that nail is very smooth. Very, very smooth. You want to make sure you're removing any dust from that nail before applying a top coat. So I'm going to be using my top coat. You're going to make sure you're holding that nail down on an angle, because you don't want to hold your nail straight like this because it can flood your cuticle. So you want to make sure you're holding that nail down on a 45-degree angle. And we're going to apply our top coat. So once we apply that top coat, we're going to put it in the light for 30 seconds. And that nail will be good to go. I just want to make sure I'm putting that top coat on very smoothly. And we're going to put this nail in the lamp for 30 seconds and I'll be right back. Okay, so that nail is cured, fully cured, 30 seconds, and that's how it looks. So if you can see, that was it has a very nice apex. That line is very crisp. Very crisp. Your point is very nice. And you can see that nail from both angles. So same thing, we're going to go in. Going to clean this line up. Turn that hand to the side. That finger pops off. That's okay. You just push it back on. Make sure you're holding them both securely when you're filing. Remembering not to go past where that nail tip started on your hand. And on a vertical angle, you want to make sure you're going up and down. To get that nice crisp shape for that stiletto nail. And just like that, you're going to take your file, it will pop off if you're not careful, so you can take it off at this point and clean that nail up. So that's that nail. And now we get ready to smooth it out. Same thing. Gonna buff it. From left to right. And then we're gonna bring that file down the nail. Feeling to make sure there's no bumps. No lumps. Make sure everything feels as smoothly as it can be. And once you have tested that nail for anything that's not as it should be, then you can do the same thing, top coat, and move on. So right now I'm just removing any or anything that's not smooth to my liking. I'm gonna go in again, buff that. I'm gonna apply my top coat and I'll be right back and show you how it looks. Okay, so that nail is completely finished. And it has a nice apex. And yeah. And then again, you can just pop that nail off. You can save this nail for the examples for your nails, ombres for your clients. And yeah. It's a very nice ombre fade. I really, really love that caramel color. So beautiful. And yeah, you guys, that's how I created those two nail looks. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. Until then, you guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.